he's a normie. Get him out of here.
Oh, sounds a little cutthroat.
Yeah, it was down to maybe like 20 guys. When you have a group who share similar views, it will progressively become edgier, darker, brutal. And it's easy to become locked in that echo chamber.
Discord says that it shut down one of Jack Teixeira's user accounts for hateful content, but that he had 2 others. And the reason it took no action against Thug Shaker Central was because nobody reported it.
In the case of Thug Shaker Central, Jack Teixeira was a moderator. In the city analogy, it's Jack's house is essentially that server.
Yeah, he built his house.
We found Thug Shaker Central violated several other terms of services, hate speech, images of gore, threats of violence. These are all things that we've documented in our reporting as well. Why were these particular kids allowed to continue sharing this kind of material for more than a year?
This comes down to our ability to identify what's happening in these spaces. We rely on user reports. We rely on third parties to help us with intelligence. None of that happened here.
Well, none of it was likely to happen because they were all part of this community. I mean, if one of them objected to racist and anti-Semitic comments being made routinely, they might have flagged it, but they didn't because they were all in on that. So what you're saying is that the company has no way of monitoring for that kind of content on its own?
We require that people are helping to keep Discord safe. We do scan spaces in particular for child sex abuse material. That is unambiguously bad, but when it comes to other classes of abuse, we all need to collectively think about, are we just diving into someone's privacy? So in our city, this is the difference between someone who has a listening device in your apartment versus not, right? And it's certainly our choice to not put that listening device in those private spaces.
In early 2022,
Crisis between Ukraine and Russia is reaching.
Jack Teixeira started focusing his Discord posts on world events.
I'm not sure how to explain it. It was just a, hey guys, new channel. At first the channel was for the war. Then Jack was like, hey, I have this. I have these numbers. And we're like, sure dude, post it. So then he started posting them.
As the war in Ukraine progressed, Pucky says Teixeira started sharing classified information on Thug Shaker Central.
It just sort of started with like casualty numbers and equipment losses from both sides in the Ukraine-Russia conflict. It was very basic, just text like, these are the real numbers, guys, from like wherever. I can't remember if he said it was from the DOD or anything like that. I'm pretty sure he did. I likened it to him wanting us to be prepared for whatever the world was going to throw at us. We spoke about the conspiracies and how we distrusted the government. This was just another iteration of that. We didn't trust the news, and we were getting it from the source.
Aggro.
He was taking notes from the documents at work, possibly using speech to text on his phone to transcribe them. But he's now leaving work and coming back with whole swaths of intelligence from reports, much of it verbatim, and sharing them with friends online.
Discord chat
Stupid lock.
released by federal investigators.
He's gonna kill me, isn't he?
Teixeira was
Nope.
in fact already leaking classified information before Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
Jack gives someone who lives in a unnamed foreign city, presumably in Europe, a heads up that there will be people coming. He uses very vulgar language. He says there'll be a wave of N-words from a city in Ukraine soon, an allusion to, you know, the impending war. And he says, I'll elaborate more when I get home. So this is significant for multiple reasons. It's Jack appearing to give a preview of the invasion of Ukraine based on classified material. It's him talking to a foreign national about this.
The Post reporters found that Teixeira's audience on Discord was wider than just Thug Shaker Central, and he was regularly having exchanges like this on a much larger public server called Abanovsky's Exclusion Zone. Sam Oakford spent weeks mapping Teixeira's posts and contacts on the Abanovsky Abanovsky server, a community of military enthusiasts and gamers with more than 600 members around the world. He found one of Abanovsky's moderators in Arizona.
Jack first really appeared around when the war started, so February of 2022. He had joined the server before then, but never really talked. I found that out when I looked back through his messages. It is a little odd that he just all of a sudden started talking right around the start of the war.
Yeah, we're good.
Jeremiah agreed to be interviewed on the condition we use only his first name.
Yeah, so Jack started posting more over time?
Yeah, he started making like bi-weekly to weekly updates when the war was more active, almost daily in some cases, especially early on, like May and June of 2022.
So you were getting a real window into what was going on in the world relating to the war.
Oh, absolutely. It was very fascinating, especially being so interested in things like that. You're, as a, someone who likes history, it's one of those things where it's like you're getting direct access to first-hand information, which is extremely hard to get, especially when you're living through something. But being able to see it immediately was just very fascinating and a little bit exhilarating.
Jeremiah says Teixeira had an eager audience at Abanovsky, and that he even took requests for classified information.
He had said that, if you live in this country, you can kind of ask. If I have anything on it, I'll tell you. So you'd have people from all over the place being like, hey, do you know anything that was going on about this event in my country? And if he had anything, he'd kind of tell them. My thought the whole time was someone else will report him, it'll happen eventually, there's no way. And it just never did. It just kept posting and posting and posting.
Did you consider reporting Jack at any point?
I did. I had times where I'm like, I probably should report him. I was 18, I was stupid, and I was kind of just wanting to look at information.
Yeah.
A lot of people told him, hey, you do realize it's illegal, right? He's like, yeah, I know, I don't care. I thought he was an absolute idiot and was definitely going to get arrested.
Air Force memos show that on more than one occasion, he was caught in the act.
It says that Jack Teixeira had been observed taking notes on classified intelligence information in the skiff. He was observed putting a note in his pocket.
He was told to stop. Then a month later, another warning.
But then they go on to offer him essentially a promotion to become an analyst. And it says that he declined the training opportunity at this time.
And then, 3 months later, Teixeira was caught viewing classified content without authorization. The Air Force declined to give an interview, but this week published its own investigation which pointed to systemic failures in the handling of classified information and strongly criticized the culture of complacency at Otis Air National Guard Base. It found that several individuals knew about Teixeira's breaches of protocol, but intentionally failed to report the full details. That a lack of oversight made it possible to print classified documents without detection. The commander of the 102nd Intelligence Wing at Otis was relieved of his command. 14 others were disciplined for dereliction of duties.
If you were a supervisor in that base or any base and you saw a young man who was an IT tech looking at, top secret information, what would your reaction have been?
I would come down on somebody that's going down a pathway that is not within their job set. I would come down on them very hard and say, this is not appropriate, and pull them off the line.
Documents from federal investigators.
Oh, somebody cleared it. Maybe he'll pop fast.
Teixeira was concerned that he may be discovered.
Stupid ass mage. I'm not using energy this time. I'll just kick him.
He decided to switch his approach.
He removes documents from work, takes them home, and takes photographs of them with his phone, and he uploads those. And he uploads more than 300 documents like that.
We knew it was illegal when he was still just typing everything out. But not pictures of documents, which is, fully incriminating.
Oh, I have to do that stupid quest,
February 28th,
yeah, I'm just gonna go Lone Wanderer for this, so it's easier.
That evening, a teenager at home in Southern California logged into Discord and initiated the fall of Jack Teixeira.
I'm gonna change titles now.
He was naive, immature, kind of the whole 9 yards of a kid.
Luca was one of the younger members of Thug Shaker Central.
Actually, I don't want to identify as Fallousness. I'm gonna do WoW because I'm more of that, really.
And he would post things in a reckless way. So it set off everything that would happen over the next month.
Luca reposted images of dozens of the classified documents originally leaked to Thug Shaker. They were sourced from nearly every U.S. intelligence agency. Never before seen Ukrainian battlefield assessments. Locations where the CIA has recruited sources. The technology the U.S. uses to track Russian forces.
He probably just thought they were like a funny meme and posted them.
Within days, another user forwarded the posts to another server. The leak was becoming a spill.
Oh, you guys are racist deep down inside, or this wouldn't be, or these things wouldn't be happening to you. You're racist deep down inside. You know you are. Or this wouldn't be happening to you.
The thread disappears, so he must have deleted it.
Then, in early April, the classified documents were anonymously posted on 4chan, a site popular with far-right extremists. Soon afterwards, they appeared on a pro-Russian Telegram channel.
As these documents are now popping up like mushrooms all over the internet, Jack hears from one of his friends in Abanovsky's exclusion zone that he thinks he's seen some of his thingies on the internet, meaning classified material.
So this is when it kind of hits the fan for Jack, right?
Oh my god, why did you do this, you idiot?
6th, the news broke that the Pentagon and the FBI were trying to identify the source of the leaks.
Top secret documents about the war in Ukraine have appeared.
The Pentagon is investigating the leak of classified documents detailing U.S. and NATO military.
Change my chair a little bit.
Are being discovered, posted on social media.
Teixeira took drastic action.
Once this story was in the news, Jack attempted to delete anything that he could control. Jack controlled Thug Shaker Central. He nuked it on April 7th. The same day, the FBI actually contacted Discord for the first time.
I get a phone call. I immediately stand up a team of people. We started to take action while also collaborating with different law enforcement agencies.
Classified material had been leaking on Discord for more than a year, but it had gone undetected until now.
No users at all reported anything about this to us.
How many servers were found to have classified documents moving through them as you described it?
I don't know the answer off the top of my head.
Is it possible you all don't know how many servers these documents popped up in?
Well, look, we're constantly trying to evolve how we can identify these things, but without knowing what is and is not classified, and without having some way to essentially detect that proactively, we can't say definitively where classified documents go, and that's true of every single tech company. This is not a Discord problem. This is an internet problem. We have no capability to identify when a classified document has potentially been leaked.
So the moment Teixeira deleted Thug Shaker Central, it could not be recovered. Anything in it
could not be recovered.
So if that means that it's gone and you can't recover that under any circumstances?
There is no way for us to recover information that's deleted by a user on Discord.
So in essence, he was successful in a limited way in covering his tracks by deleting the server.
I don't think he was successful, given the fact that lots of screenshots have appeared.
Teixeira could delete the Thug Shaker server, but he didn't have the same power over Abanovsky.
He's running through various ways he can most efficiently clear up what he did on Abanovsky.
He had asked me to go back and delete anything he might have posted outside the thread in February of 2022. He also said, don't tell anyone, which I didn't. but I immediately started taking screenshots of things and like just kind of collecting information in case it was ever needed.
So he's telling people, delete anything that has anything to do with me. If anyone comes talking to you, don't tell them anything.
In the days that followed, investigators say Teixeira destroyed electronics equipment, adopted a new email address, and got a new phone number.
You see him in these days understanding that the walls are closing in. He knows people are looking for him, and he's trying to delete the evidence that might lead to his door.
Federal agents were getting closer to Teixeira, and the word was getting out among people who had known him online.
I knew a few days before it ever hit national news. I used to be very good friends with Mr. Luca, and I was still close friends with people kind of connected to him. And I heard that they were looking into him for classified information.
Yeah.
Luca was the first person who got visited by any law enforcement.
Okay.
On April 10th, 2023, the FBI interviewed Luca. He told them that a clean-cut white male named Jack, who lived in Massachusetts and worked for the U.S. Air National Guard, was the source of the leaks. 3 days later, federal agents moved in on Jack Teixeira. He was waiting for them on the back porch of his mother's house, reading a Bible.
Last thing he ever said to us, he said, I'm sorry guys, I really wish this would never happen. I prayed and I prayed and I prayed that this day would never come, but now it's just in God's hand. I love you all. And then that was basically it.
Jack Teixeira was charged with 6 counts of retaining and transmitting classified national defense information.
But I mean, you're a treasonous spy, kind
the
of.
indictment said that what he leaked could be used to the injury of the United States or to the
You
advantage
fucking
of a foreign nation.
right-wing traitor bastard.
Nobody else has been charged
Fuck
in
you.
relation to the leaks.
Fuck your right-wing friends, and fuck
Teixeira
your
has
bullshit
pled not
racism,
guilty
and fuck
remains
your fucking
incarcerated
traitor
pending his
bullshit.
trial.
Traitor.
If convicted, he could face decades in prison.
I hope so.
If you look at the whole narrative then of Jack, where there were so many points where he could have been
The
flagged.
Discord. It's the Discord's
interrogated
fault.
further,
The
or even
Discord led
stopped,
him to do
and
it.
They just don't happen.
Once you start tracking back, you see failure, 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 failure. There were countless missed opportunities, literally from the outset. And as a result, we have one of the worst leak cases in modern times.
We must be vigilant, however, knowing that source of energy lies so close at hand. Plans must be made for the future. If our scouts and agents
To me, it felt like a mix of his ego and ideology
we shall have the Lich
all of
King's
it blended
scourge
together.
removed from our lands in no time.
Because when you're on Discord that much, you lose a lot of what normal socialization is. I
I'm just gonna
genuinely
sell
just
all
think
of
he
it.
never thought they'd come for him.
They never do. They're criminals. They're fucking criminals. They never do. Every time I ever face something, I turn myself in. Because I'm not a jackass like most criminals, you know? Real criminals, like, that like, get away with it and shit. They assume it's gonna happen sooner or later, you know? Unlisted. Why am I unlisted on YouTube now? That's, like, what the fuck, man? Why am I unlisted on YouTube? Stop and restart.
For more on
Piece of
this and other
shit.
Frontline programs, visit our website at pbs.org/frontline.
YouTube fucking breaks all the time.
Frontline's The Discord Leaks is available on Amazon Prime Video.
What the fuck, man? It won't stream to YouTube. Why aren't you streaming to YouTube? It was good. Fucking shithead. The Shadow Fleet fueling Russia's war. Okay. I just did that one. Let's do the Fall of Russell Brand by Then and Now. Thank you, Then and Now, for the excellent content for my stream. I'd like to sub to your channel.
This is a story about Russell Brand, but it's also a wider story about institutions, trust, truth, uncertainty, fear, cover-ups, questioning, about how we all think. It delves into the most fundamental of human questions. What are the stories we tell ourselves? Who gets to tell those stories? And what is truth? Russell Brand's career as an entertainer was based on promiscuity, shock, extravagance, wit, intelligence. But that's the case for so many comedians. In 2013,
ooh, lots of money.
Most
Nice.
comedians don't. He talked to Britain's chief mainstream media political interrogator, Jeremy Paxman.
Here's the thing it shouldn't do. Shouldn't destroy the planet, shouldn't create massive economic disparity, shouldn't ignore the needs of the people. The burden of proof is on the people with the power, not people like doing a magazine.
How do you imagine that people get...
He told the incredulous Paxman that he didn't vote. What's the point?
But is it true you don't even vote?
Yeah, I'm INR. I'm not represented. I'll vote if I have somebody in my life who cares about where my vote goes. But I'm not represented, and I don't know why I would vote for any. I don't have a party. I would not vote for any of these parties. I don't like any of them.
And it went viral at the time, not least because Brand is one of Britain's most recognisable faces, but because it seemed to many to capture the mood. An ordinary person telling the truth up against the establishment. It was the start of a shift towards politics. In 2014, after a stint in Hollywood, Brand wrote a book, Revolution, which he discussed in another much talked about interview on Newsnight in the UK.
In the book you refer to the destruction of the Twin Towers in New York, 9/11, as what some people say looked like a controlled explosion. One might read that as you giving some credence to conspiracy theories.
You can read the book in whatever manner you would like to read.
The same year, he started The Truth on YouTube, reading and commenting on the UK papers, interviewing a range of people, and mostly making loosely progressive arguments.
The media despising Donald Trump. Despising!
Of course, for many people, the pandemic changed a lot of things, and in January of 2021, two videos stand out as having millions more views than usual, both about the Great Reset. It's a topic that Brand comes back to several times, and they always have many more views. Around this time, Brand becomes more critical of policies surrounding COVID-19. Much of it is reasonable, and he shifts to his current regular format called Stay Free, a full-time regular show with millions of subscribers, advertisers, co-presenters and guests. A few months later, in the middle of 2021, stories began running, mostly drawing from tweets on Twitter, that Brand is a conspiracy theorist. And by 2022, two competing narratives are set. Then Brand has become a crackpot teacher and conspiracist. For Brand, Devils is a centralising, authoritarian mainstream agenda dominated by the media, the political establishment, big tech and global corporate interests, all to take away freedom.
The word freedom is racist.
I want to look at several stories as they unfolded. COVID and vaccines, the the Great Reset, the Dutch farmers' protest, and the allegations against Brand in September of 2023, to ask a question which I think is fundamental to our information age. What does it mean to be called a conspiracy theorist? Especially if there have been real conspiracies in history: Iran-Contra, Watergate, the Pentagon Papers, the Holocaust, all the way back to Julius Caesar's assassination. All of these were the result of a real conspiracy. We'll look at the history and the psychology too, to try and separate fact from fiction, asking what drives Russell Brand? Is there any truth to what he says? How can we think about the establishment, the mainstream media, the so-called global elite? What does all of this tell us about the society that we live in? Brand talks about lots of different subjects in a lot of different ways, but there's a few themes and topics he comes back to again and again. He is very aware that he's been framed as a conspiracy theorist and frequently points out that he's just reading facts from a variety of sources. Some of them mainstream, The Guardian, The New York Times, The Washington Post, some, as we'll see, a bit more fringe. So again, how can we disentangle fact from fantasy?
Recognition that this human tragedy must be a wake-up call.
At the beginning of 2021, clips began circulating on the World Economic Forum's The Great Reset. The Great Reset is an initiative from the WEF to drastically change the direction of the economy after COVID-19 by addressing social issues and to, quote, reflect, reimagine and reset our world. Depending on who you ask, the Great Reset is anything from capitalist propaganda to a genuine attempt to address the problems with capitalism to a global conspiracy to exert more control over the population. In the case of Brand, he argued that...
But of course there are some people out there that believe in shady global cabals running things from behind the scenes. Now, I don't believe that. I believe that there are plain, visible economic interests that dominate the direction of international policy. That's what I believe.
The video is reasonable. It criticises those who think the Great Reset is part of an authoritarian plan to take control through the justification of a manufactured fake climate crisis, for example. The video is a hit. It has 1 million views, compared to his other videos at the time, ranging around 100,000 views. He makes another, saying,
we've decided to dive a little bit deeper into what you think and further evidence and your legitimate concern.
This time, 2.7 million views. And a year later, he says,
the Great Reset, where you will own nothing and be happy, is being brought about by economic policy decisions made by your government that will facilitate the advance of the most powerful interests on Earth. Oh?
Continuing that,
a new agenda is being asserted. This is not conspiracy theory. I'm going to read you the actual facts here. I'm just using rhetoric that's appealing. I'm an entertainer. Now look at my cardigan. Look at my hair.
Okay, so what is the Great Reset? Well, it began as a book written by the founder of the corporate lobbying group, the WEF, Al Schwab, and his co-author, Thierry Malheureux. One review describes 3 main themes. First, push for fairer outcomes in the global market and to address the massive inequalities produced by global capitalism. Second, efforts to address equality and sustainability by urging governments and businesses to take things like racism and climate change more seriously. And third, embrace innovation and technological solutions that could be used to address global social problems. All of this sounds reasonable enough, admirable even, but as political author Ivan Weck has pointed out, Schwab and the WEF ideas have something fishy about them. The initiative could be seen as an exercise in corporate PR that gives multinational business leaders more power, not less, that give political elites more power, not less. In another review of the book, Stephen Umbrello concludes that the book does point out a lot of the problems we face, but has no substantive solutions. And of course, liberal elites love this stuff. Trudeau, for example, has used the language of needing a reset after COVID.
This pandemic has provided an opportunity for a reset. This is our chance to accelerate our pre-pandemic efforts to reimagine economic systems that
So there's plenty to criticise, but as Brand explores the Great Reset, he connects it to other events. BlackRock buying up houses, for example, or emphasising one video ominously claiming that in the future you'll own nothing and be happy, or increasing government restrictions during the pandemic, Bill Gates, and the Dutch farmers' protest. He seems, for example, to be more aligned with the Alberta Premier Jason Kenney, who has claimed that the Great Reset is, quote,
describe it as a grab bag of left-wing ideas for less freedom and more government.
And failed socialist policy ideas. Agenda is used frequently, and as he said, it's not a conspiracy, he's just reading the facts. So, what is a conspiracy? One definition is the belief that a number of actors join together in secret agreement in order to achieve a hidden goal which is perceived to be unlawful or malevolent. Another, by Professor of Psychology Jan Willem Proyen, argues a conspiracy has 5 components. First, it makes connections that explain disconnected actions, objects or people into patterns. Second, it involves that it was an intentional plan. Third, it involves a coalition or a group. Fourth, the goal is hostile, selfish, evil, or at odds with public interest. And 5, it operates in secret. Another definition proposes a simpler 4-criteria model. 1, a group. 2, acting in secret. 3, to alter institutions, usurp power, hide truth or gain utility. 4, at the expense of the common good. There's also many types of conspiracy. Within government and institutions, without in the form of another country or a nefarious power.
Oh, that's what's causing it? Okay, at least I know what it is.
In the form of ordinary people organising to overthrow capitalism, for example. By Proyen's criteria, the Great Reset can be thought of as a conspiracy. After all, it's intentional, it involves a group of people, some argue it's not in the public interest, and at least in part it operates in secrecy, in boardrooms and at places like Davos. But Brand points out that it's not a conspiracy. They're saying it publicly, after all.
Being asserted, this is not conspiracy theory. I'm going to read you the actual facts here.
But I think the more interesting component is the first one. It makes connections that explains disconnected actions, objects and people into patterns. Brand does this often, hopping between topics. So let's look at another one of those topics, the Dutch farmers' protest. The Dutch farmers' movement, beginning in 2019 and continuing today, are protests that argue that farmers are being unfairly targeted in efforts to address climate change. The Dutch government have passed a range of policies aiming to cut nitrogen pollution and livestock farming in the country. Brand says,
bloody farmers protesting, hating the environment. What is it? Are farmers all bastards? Or are we seeing the beginning of the Great Reset play out in real time?
In short, the Dutch government's policies are a power grab, taking power from ordinary farmers, and he connects the protest to other stories he covers frequently. The Great Reset, WEF, Bill Gates, and the mainstream media failing to cover the events appropriately. So what's actually happening in the Netherlands? Studies since the 80s have known that nitrate pollution in the ground, through drinking water and into wider ecosystems have been an increasing problem. Nitrate pollution can cause blue baby syndrome, increases in bowel cancer, respiratory problems and premature birth. It causes havoc in rivers, which nitrate-based fertilizer runs into, killing fish. The EU has identified what it calls Natura 2000 areas, fragile ecosystems that are home to rare and threatened species that need protecting. The Netherlands is an agricultural superpower. It's the second largest exporter of agricultural products in the world, and the EU's #1 exporter of meat. And Unfortunately and complexly, being close to the designated Natura 2000 areas, this makes nitrate pollution in the Netherlands a big problem. The Netherlands is also an EU member state, with its freedom of movement, courts, European Parliament and so on, and support for staying in the EU in the Netherlands is very high, around 75%. The EU has legislated to reduce nitrate pollution by 2030, and more broadly, worldwide, agriculture contributes to around a quarter to a third of all greenhouse gas emissions. The Dutch government and the EU have agreed a €1.5 billion package to help 2,000 to 3,000 peak polluters, including farmers, to either innovate, relocate, change business, or, as a last resort, buy them out. Now, obviously, among many farmers, this is deeply unpopular. The Guardian reports that for agricultural entrepreneurs, there will be a stopping scheme that will be as attractive as possible, said Van der Waal in a series of parliamentary briefings. For industrial peak polluters, we will get to work with a tailor-made approach and in tightening permits. After a year, we will see if this has achieved enough. Does it seem hypocritical to focus efforts on ordinary farmers rather than industrial peak polluters? Well, without speaking Dutch or looking in depth at the legislation on the surface, yeah, it does. And none of what I've just said is to blame farmers, of course, but it's obviously a complex problem with a lot of different interests, a lot of different ideas.
The protests in Sri Lanka are comparable as well.
And in the middle of the video, Brand makes some reasonable points. In Sri Lanka, the outright banning of all fertilizers and pesticides was disastrous. He makes points about focusing on farmers rather than finding ways to shift attention to corporations and the 1%. He says it's always ordinary people rather than the powerful, all of which I can agree with. But he ignores some of the complexity. The Dutch government has also ordered coal power plants to close, for example, and the biggest polluter in the country is Tata Steel, which the regulation does focus on, and is one of the country's biggest employers of ordinary people too. So it is a complex issue, but what stands out from Brand is the framing. It's about the Great Reset, Bill Gates, the agenda, and the next piece of the puzzle. There are several ongoing COVID-19 pandemic vaccine debates. The lab leak hypothesis, the efficacy of vaccines, big tech censorship, the legality or the ethics of lockdowns. And what should be clear, wherever you stand on a particular issue, is that each of these that I've just mentioned, while having a lot of crossover in that they're all to do with COVID, are somewhat different. Some of Brand's many COVID-19 videos, like the one on vaccine passports for example, have a lot to agree with. However, like with other topics, Brand has a tendency to take a story and spin it into a wider pattern. We hear it a lot recently. It's about the narrative.
The lab leak theory
that the COVID pandemic was caused by a leak from a Chinese government-controlled lab.
The lab leak hypothesis isn't about laboratory safety precautions or lack thereof, but about a cover-up involving world governments, the WHO, and big tech censorship. A WHO epidemic surveillance network across the world that monitors the outbreak of communicable diseases and does a lot of good work, COVID aside, becomes about an elitist surveillance society that spies on us.
The WHO, or World Health Organization. What is it you like most about it? That you fund it out of your taxes, that Bill Gates is its second biggest funder, or that nobody elected it?
A doctor describing helping with outbreaks becomes an object of derision. Take this video, one of many on vaccines.
A former Pfizer worker has turned whistleblower, suggesting...
It's about Pfizer falsifying the data of vaccine trials. A serious issue. It's based on a British medical journal article in which a whistleblower raised a number of concerns with a trial site they worked at, and those concerns included 1. participants placed in a hallway after injection and not being monitored by staff, to lack of timely follow-up of patients who experienced adverse events, 3 protocol deviations not being reported, 4 vaccines not being stored at proper temperatures, 5 mislabeled laboratory specimens, and 6 targeting staff for reporting these types of problems.
Fine, all worrying concerns, and Brand repeatedly points out that he's just looking at the evidence objectively, just asking questions. He describes himself as a glass funnel, reporting information carefully and unbiasedly, while the mainstream media report it morally, telling people what to do.
No opinions around medical matters, policies around medical matters. I'm sort of basically like a glass funnel.
There are a few points of irony here. First, obviously Brand has a moral position here too. We all do, unless we read a story without comment or opinion, which Brand is doing. Second, he says this isn't being reported on by the mainstream media, while using reports from mainstream institutions, the BMJ, CBS, and it's been reported by the Daily Mail and The Conversation. I find a brief reference to it in the Financial Times too.
But it might be reasonable to ask, should there not be more of an outcry, more focus on it, more reporting? I can't find it mentioned on the New York Times or the BBC websites, for example.
As the Conversation article points out, the concerns raised are important and worrying, but don't meaningfully undermine wider evidence on COVID-19 vaccines. It involved 3 Pfizer trial centres out of 150. Those 3 sites involved around 1,000 people total, and they weren't even run by Pfizer. This was a third party. And of course, around the world, hundreds of thousands took part in trials involving many different pharmaceutical companies, third-party trial centres, universities, and hundreds of regulatory bodies. And most of the whistleblowers' complaints were about sloppiness. Photos of things like needles thrown away inappropriately, participants' IDs left out when they shouldn't have been. One section reads, an executive identified 3 site staff members with whom to, quote, go over e-diary issue, falsifying data, etc. One of them was verbally counselled for changing data and not noting late entry, a note indicates. Now, all of this is obviously worrying, good reporting, worth investigating, and so on. But it's always important to keep a sense of proportion. This is a single third-party trial centre in Texas, but Brand spins it into a wider narrative, claiming in another video, for example, that
the mainstream media are preventing their own medical experts from accurately reporting on potential COVID problems. Meanwhile, they continue to repress information about vaccine efficacy.
As Professor Douglas Drevitz, head of the Infectious Diseases Department at the University of Oklahoma, has written, there have been so many other studies on the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine since the Phase 3 trial that people can be confident in its efficacy and safety profile. That said, Pfizer might be wise to rerun their analysis, including all Ventavia subjects, and show if that does or does not change the results. Such an analysis would give added confidence in the Phase 3 results. Pfizer reported that they looked into the complaints and said that Pfizer's investigation did not identify any issues or concerns that would invalidate the data or jeopardize the integrity of the study.
Now, I want to be absolutely clear. I'm not saying that Pfizer's claims should be taken at face value, or that pharmaceutical companies don't have perverse profit incentives and so on, or that this isn't worth someone digging into, someone looking at it in detail. The point is that this is a very small story. It has been looked at, and I'd imagine that if you're an editor at a large TV station or at a newspaper with hundreds of other competing stories to present, you might decide, on balance, that there are more important issues for the day. News reporting is a matter of selection and emphasis in the greater scheme, with the most important issues, with the most important debates, on balance with the rest of the evidence, and with only a limited number of positions on a half-an-hour news show or on the front page of a newspaper. The important question is what's included and what's not. Brand says that the mainstream media are censoring information, when in fact the opposite is true. There are, again, issues with the mainstream media that we'll come to, but it's an endorsement of the press that, unlike, say, in China or Russia, a relatively minor issue could be reported and investigated and decided was not appropriate to include in, say, on the front page news or on a news programme on television. Brand constantly says
Gonna get an
things
olive
like,
while I
this is
while
what
I
happens
make
when you politicize information without the awareness that by weaving insignificant details into wider narratives, deciding to give small stories weight, he is himself obvious.
I'm gonna pause it real quick.
The asteroid is depleted. The asteroid is depleted.
All right, everyone's here. Y'all ready to rock this joint?
You know me, Mag. I'm always ready.
Except when you ain't.
Harsh, Mag. That was one time.
One time? What happened?
I'll tell you when you're older.
Less talk. Gun heavy. Need to unload bullets into something and make lighter.
Gail's right. Let's get a move on. Just give Lou the word when you're good to go, 7-6.
Ian's ready or what? Not now. You got it. Stand back. Don't want no one standing in the blast zone.
Johnny, Gail, you two.
And me.
Rah-rah too. Not leaving Rah-rah behind.
Fine, yeah. You three go on ahead and take care of security. Gail, you're responsible for keeping Rah-rah safe.
Rah-rah always safe with Gail.
You got it, boss lady. Let's go.
7-6. Can I talk to you real quick? Stay here and guard your butts till I'm confident we're in the clear, but got an important request for you. With Johnny asking for such a big cut, I want you to keep an eye on him. You let me know if he doesn't pull his weight. He wants to keep his value. He's gotta earn it. No, I don't want you to do a damn thing. Just watch and tell me. He's still a valuable asset, so I'm the one who decides what to do with him. Thanks. You good otherwise? She'll be fine. Remember, Gale doesn't go anywhere without that girl. She'll keep Rah-Rah safe. Besides, that kid's always surprising me with how resourceful she can be. You never know when she'll come in handy. He said he's got to make sure there's no structural weakness from the blast or something like that. He's gonna stay behind and rig up support if we need it, so no one gets trapped inside.
Why are her eyes so blue? It's weird.
Okay, get to it, 7-6. Make us rich.
Looking forward to getting our hands on all that gold. I was expecting more people to be alive here. I know some people believe gold is worthless now, but it's only a matter of time before the world gets back on track, and who'll be laughing then? There was a vault that made Fort Knox look like a piggy bank. Yeah, it looks sharp. This place is full of security.
Try again. It's so annoying.
Everyone's here. Y'all ready to rock this joint?
You know me, Meg. I'm always ready.
Except when you ain't.
Harsh, Meg. That was one time.
One time? What happened?
I'll tell you when you're older.
Less talk. Gun heavy. Need to unload bullets into something and make lighter.
Gale's right. Let's get a move on. Just give Lou the word when you're good to go, 7-6.
Hands ready. What? You got it. Stand back.
Security. Gale, you're responsible for keeping Rara safe.
Rara always safe with Gale.
You got it, boss lady. Now let's go.
7-6. Can I talk to you real quick? I gotta stay here and guard your butts till I'm confident we're in the clear, but I have an important request for you. With Johnny asking for such a big cut, I want you to keep an eye on him. You let me know if he doesn't pull his weight. If he wants to keep his value, he's gotta earn it. Thanks. You good otherwise? Okay, get to it, 7-6. Make us rich.
Door's shut tight. See if you can open it remotely. Maybe there's a terminal somewhere. But we'll guard it in case there's anything inside.
Gale ready to destroy more robots.
Gale's the best at destroying robos. Johnny, you're okay at it, I guess.
Hey, I'm pretty damn good at it. I just don't have a giant minigun like Gale does.
Excuses.
Okay, fine. Give me the minigun, and I'll show you.
No, you too weak. You just drop it and make it break.
You're just afraid I'm right.
Well, I think you're both right.
That doesn't even make any sense.
Now Gale think Rara is right.
Come on, Gale. He's starting to get mad. We should stop messing with him.
I'm not getting mad. You know what? I'm just gonna stand here and wait for the door to open.
You sure you strong enough to do that?
Yeah. Laugh it up, kiddo.
This is a waste of time. Oh. Annoying that sound.
The asteroid is depleted.
Hopefully it works this time. I fucking doubt it, though. How did you guys get engaged in this? I'm getting involved in this stupid, loud, spammy noise.
go. Can't go.
Oh my god, the guns are just going off. I want to leave this place. This quest is dumb. Oh damn it, now I can't leave. Just exit out. Oops. Oh, I forgot. Am I supposed to do this? It's like, it's not that way, it's the other way. Forgot. Stupid quest. Die, asshole. So long.
Vincent's body lies broken and still. Although Deathstalker Adamant will send his report to Hadrick, whatever additional details Vincent gained must remain with him. But clutched in his hand is a small trinket.
Aggro. Aggro. Aggro.
God damn it! God damn it. What is popping me? There's that.
Aggro. Aggro.